Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Thursday, September 7th, 2023. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread? First card that we are starting our day off with today is the Strength card, and we love to see this today, especially because one of the things that we noticed in the daily collective read yesterday was the fact that there was a degree of patience that was being applied to situations and circumstances. Not surprisingly, one of the major themes that we saw coming up yesterday was the fact that during this retrograde period, there are some situations from the past that feel open-ended and resolved. And yesterday we did see some motions and activity to try to come into a state of resolution around those circumstances and situations. For feminine, this was a moment of really maintaining a degree or level of stability, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. For masculine, this may have felt like a lot of patience was required, because we do see right now that masculine energy is trying to come forward right now from a place of stability. One of the things that we identified during that Venus in retrograde cycle that occurred for the masculine was a deeper understanding of what needs to be put forth towards feminine energy right now. However, we are also seeing the fact that this is requiring a level of degree of patience for the masculine as they come forward in this way. This is something that is requiring a lot of strength for the masculine in order to maintain. For feminine, we are seeing the opposite area, because for feminine, that focus on stability, maintaining the lessons of the retrograde, was the fact that feminine energy recognized to a certain degree that they often give forth towards things in ways that does not feel reciprocal. This pulling back of energy right now is also requiring a level of degree of strength. Now, for energies that are in union, a lot of this energy we saw was being applied to practical situations and circumstances. For union energy, or energy that is in divine union yesterday, there may not have been a lot of motion in the relationship itself, but that lack of motion in the relationship allowed for a degree of applying your time and effort and energy to things outside the relationship itself. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Second card in our 5-card spread for today is, we love to see this card in its reversal. We've got here our 6 of Swords in its reversal. And what we're really seeing, and this is a continuation of the themes that we saw that began the day yesterday, a point and degree of trying to come into a point of easement. We saw and identified that for both masculine and feminine energy yesterday, there was a concentration on finding an easier path forward, potentially even trying to avoid any areas that have been creating conflict. Now, this is either tangible external conflict that you find yourself in at this time, or something that feels more on a metaphysical level, an internal struggle that you yourself have been working, trying to sort through. Now, for both energies, we are seeing here that a lot of this is trying to come into a space of shedding grief. Today may even be feeling some of that relief coming to the surface today, and recognizing, though, that this has been an act of strength up until this point to come into a space where you can shed those doubts, shed those fears as you go forward from this time. And a lot of the work being put in this capacity right now is being spent on coming into this state of easement. Now, center card for today's spread. May I please have the center card? We love to see her. I have to stress, we have not seen feminine coming through in any very solid positions over the last few days for the daily collective readings. Feminine has been staying rather latent throughout, which means that feminine has been maintaining and sustaining a very specific space. What we're actually seeing right now is feminine energy is putting a lot of their sense of intuition and logic to work today. Feminine energy may even be doing a lot of internal work today to help shed any doubt, any grief, any fear from the past. Some of that past energy that we saw that was rising to the surface over the last few days, which is very characteristic of retrograde situations and scenarios. But what we're really identifying at this time is feminine is effectively holding their own ground in this. But this isn't a moment right now of inactivity specifically for the feminine energy. This is actually a practice in their own abilities to do so. Hence some of that strength that we are seeing here. Feminine energy is effectively working right now on a very spiritual and emotional level to shed any grief, shed any fear from past situations, from past circumstances. Now, from the outside today, this may not look like a lot of tangible activity from the feminine source, because this is a lot of internalized energy. But rest assured, feminine is doing some stuff right now under the surface, beyond what can be seen, to help them come into this state and degree of easement. Now, for masculine and feminine energy that is working in union at this time, this could be masculine energy getting a lot of this same support from the feminine energy right now. This could be collaborative work that is occurring right now to come into a state of easement, shedding doubts, shedding fears, working through that process of easement that we saw that was coming through in the cards yesterday. Masculine energy could even be turning towards feminine right now for some level or degree of insight, intuition, knowledge to be added to help them also come into this process. While for the masculine and the feminine energy that is not in partnership right now, this could feel like a bit more dissociative energy, because this might not necessarily look to the masculine like feminine is doing much right now. This could be feeling, even to a certain degree, that the feminine feels somewhat disconnected from you or somewhat disassociated from you, because feminine energy is trying to weigh how to move forward from this point without allowing the grief and the guilt from the past to come forward. One thing that we identified for a lot of the masculine energy right now is this is a moment that you're coming forward with offers to feminine. We saw that there was something about the fact that those offers were not being readily accepted or in a state of consideration that was requiring a level of degree of strength from the masculine yesterday. And here we see the feminine energy is not just sitting there ignoring what is being pro-offered. Feminine energy is really weighing whether there is a path forward that can allow them to shed the grief and the pain from the past. Now, this is what we are seeing the masculine was experiencing, and this is what is intriguing right now about this energy. Masculine, you are potentially seeing this either towards situations from the past that you are returning to see if there is a point of easement possible, or even right now, from new offers and opportunities that you are putting forth to new feminine energy at this time. Because as we identified yesterday, masculines, to a certain degree, you are finding that all the feminine energy is in this vibration. It isn't necessarily what is offered. It is feminine energy weighing the viability and the consistency of the offer that is in place. And for feminine, there's a recognition point about having to look at what they may feel is somewhat triggering them, or reminding them of past situations and circumstances that have brought grief, that have brought difficulty to the feminine energy, to try to determine if this is going to allow for that path of easement going forward. While for masculine, this could be a lot of that same hold energy that we saw that you had to maintain yesterday coming into play today. There may be a moment right now that you recognize that this is not an energy that is not taking what you are offering them into consideration. Rather, you are feeling the fact that this energy is working right now on some matters or circumstances that feel like they are more connected to their own higher spiritual mindset. Now, fourth card in our 5-card spread for today is, we have here the Magician in its reversal, and this gives us all the clarification that we need right now as to what is potentially occurring for the masculine and the feminine energy that is not in partnership at this time. As we just indicated, it is not the fact that feminine isn't considering what is being pro-offered to them at this moment. Rather, they are feeling a level or degree of uncertainty as to the viability and authenticity of what is offered. This is coming through either both for feminine energy that is considering offers from energy from the past right now, or simultaneously energy that is coming towards them in the present moment, new offers and opportunities. Because what feminine is really effectively trying to weigh at this time is coming from a space of spiritual alignment, trying to utilize their own powers of intuition and higher logic mindset to really look at the situations for what they are, seeing past what they may feel is not true versus what is true. And this is also requiring the feminine energy to kind of do some double heavy lifting here, because what's really occurring is feminine energy is looking at these circumstances and situations to both weigh whether this offers and opportunities are coming from a space or place of authenticity, of true collaboration, or if this is reminders or situations from the past that may have caused the grief and the doubt and the fear that feminine has been carrying up until this point, and that is requiring a deep degree of uncertainty. both as it relates to feminine's own ability to do so at this moment, but also with a bit of trepidation as to the intentionality of the energy coming towards them at this time. Feminine energy could be feeling a lot of anxiety or concern as it relates to someone coming from a space of authenticity, maybe even feeling some fears of potential manipulation energy here. But what we really appreciate seeing right now is feminine energy is taking this time and opportunity to really weigh what they are seeing, utilizing their powers of observation to help them understand that. And it's requiring a lot of going inwards at this time. It's requiring a lot of strength for the feminine. Masculine right now, you are potentially also experiencing this from the feminine. You could even be recognizing that this is happening. The problem around this right now is while this is requiring a certain level of degree of strength from you right now, masculine, we are also identifying and recognizing the fact that it puts you at a bit of a disadvantage, because while you may be feeling right now that you are waiting for some kind of communication, some kind of insight, some kind of clarity from feminine energy, there is something here that you are also feeling somewhat disassociated from this energy, particularly if you are not in partnership at this time. This is putting you into a level of degree of feeling some point of frustration in terms of you being able to actually do something on a practical level right now, to really be able to harness your own level and degree of mastery at this time. You could even be feeling some doubts or fears rising up right now that need to be challenged. What's happening, and this is very important for both energies right now, is there is a questioning of the self that is occurring throughout this. The reminder that we want to maintain right now, particularly when we see this type of energy in its reversal, is a reminder about the appreciation of one's own ability, of one's own gifts, of being able to navigate and manipulate the energy that is around you in a positive fashion, taking the tools that are around you and using them to your highest advantage in a positive way. Masculine, you may be observing right now that feminine is looking at you from a certain level or degree of trepidation, because they have seen energy coming towards them in this capacity that has not necessarily been in a unified construct, but rather has been moving from a space of serving their own needs and their own desires. This is why feminine energy is effectively pulling back to a certain extent, staying in their own core energy right now, trying to get that level and degree of higher insight at this time. Feminine right now, this is a moment and degree that you are also feeling a level of uncertainty, because there's a lot of trepidation in terms of your own ability to do this type of work. You maybe even be questioning your own ability, or how you may be able to see a point of being able to shed some of the grief, some of the fear, some of the doubts that came into play from past situations right now. This is a moment of feminine questioning their own ability to harness this ability to shed grief at this time. For both masculine and feminine energy right now, this is requiring a lot of strength. While for the masculine and feminine energy right now that is in partnership, this is potentially the masculine getting some point of bolstering from the feminine at this time. That there could be a moment for the masculine energy right now where their own ability to do something is being challenged, or you're having some feelings of self-doubt in terms of your own abilities at this time. But what we really appreciate right now for the energies that are in union is masculine is almost getting immediate support from feminine energy that they utilize and see is harnessing this ability right now to help fortify themselves. And what masculine might not recognize and appreciate is feminine is also doing so in the capacity of the masculine, getting that level of stability and strength and support that is allowing them to maintain this level and consistency of vibration. Now, fifth card right now for our 5-card spread, before we start getting clarity on these cards today, is we have here our Queen of Cups. We are finally starting to see some feminine energy back on the table. We haven't seen it for quite some time. The last few days, feminine has been rather in a latent state. A bit of that hermit mode energy that we've been seeing coming through. Feminine energy is working right now on a point of emotional balance, maintaining a level and degree of emotional balance at this time. How is feminine energy doing that? Feminine energy is effectively looking at their own emotions from a very objective way. It's not the fact that feminine is, and we love to see this right now. We love to see the combinations of these cards right now for feminine, because what feminine is doing is feminine is to a certain level and degree disassociating from their emotionality, but they are not ignoring those emotions. They are doing a lot of work right now to look at them objectively. Why is feminine energy trying to look at their emotionality from an objective perspective? Because feminine energy is trying to shed grief. They're trying to shed fear. This is something that feminine is focusing on now in order to move forward. There's a point of recognition that some of the pain or the emotional or spiritual pain that the feminine has been carrying up until this point has become a bit too heavy to bear. Hence some of that easement that we saw that the feminine was trying to reach yesterday. Feminine energy is feeling a little bit of doubt or uncertainty in terms of how to do it. It's feeling like a little bit of a strength training exercise to look at their own emotions from such an objective level and way right now. But the way feminine is doing this right now is not by closing off their emotional center. This is requiring a little bit of dual work right now for the feminine. This is something that they're trying to teach themselves how to do. It is a moment of being able to allow themselves to experience the emotions that they are experiencing, but looking at them from an objective perspective and also with a higher spiritual mindset. As I said, for a lot of the energy that's looking at the feminine doing this right now, this could be feeling like the feminine isn't doing much right now, but this is a lot of internal work that the feminine is doing right now on that higher spiritual and emotional level that is helping the feminine energy navigate some of the situations and circumstances that they currently find themselves in. For masculine energy right now, this is potentially more of that waiting energy that we saw that was coming into play in practice over the last few days. There's something here that you have been offering feminine, either energy from the past or even new energy that you are taking the lessons from the past and trying to utilize them as a point of orientation going forward. But as we also recognize for masculine energy, rather, regardless of whether it is energy from the past or energy from the future right now, you are seeing that all the feminine energy is in this modality where they are effectively a little bit closed off. They're a little bit resistant. They're a little bit reluctant in terms of allowing new opportunities to come towards them right now from the masculine. Why? Because feminine energy is carrying a lot of grief right now from past situations and circumstances. You may even be acknowledging now, masculine energy, one of two different scenarios. This is either past feminine energy that you are going back to at this time, and you are recognizing that they feel a lot of doubt in letting you in. They're very worried that you're coming from a space that might not necessarily be authentic. They're worried that this may be some kind of further manipulation in some way. This is what is requiring you to effectively have to maintain a point of consistency and a level of authenticity at this time. But this is also hard because what you may also be experiencing is feeling like the feminine energy isn't giving you a lot of opportunity to prove yourself at this moment. While for the masculine energy, thank you for the gift, that is going towards new feminine energy, you are similarly experiencing this right now, potentially even feeling like you have to make up for the fact that feminine energy has reached a level or degree of having to go through some hurdles or difficulties up until the point that you found them right now. That the feminine energy is looking towards you right now with a point or a state of trepidation. This could even be feeling right now that you're carrying the weight of other people's grief on your back, that there's something here that you have to effectively prove to the feminine energy that you are not in the same vibration of something that caused the same grief or same anxiety to the feminine in the past. So for both situations, for masculine, this is a bit of a hurdle because there is something here about feeling like you need to maintain a point of trying to prove to this feminine that this is a safe space for them to open up emotionally, but you're not being given a lot of opportunity to do so beyond remaining consistent and steadfast, hence some of that strength energy that we're seeing come into play. Masculine and feminine energy that is in partnership right now, this is more the feminine really, really stepping up and becoming a bit of a supportive role right now for the masculine. Really the masculine energy feeling some points or degree of frustration with your own self today. But what we really appreciate is feminine energy is almost coming towards you from a state of empathy. There might be even empathizing and saying like, I feel like that too at times, but offering the emotional ballast and the insight to help you navigate that as you proceed forward from this time. Now, let's see if we can get clarification on the cards that we have on the table, shall we? Clarification between our Strength card and our Six of Swords in its reversal. Coming into a state of easement, allowing a degree today of dropping some anxieties, dropping some fears. This could even be feeling like a point of relief or trying to maintain some of that sense of relief that we saw was so fundamental in a lot of the goals of yesterday. But it's requiring a lot of strength in order to do so. This isn't an easy shedding practice right now. Relinquishing this grief, coming into a state of forgiveness, coming into a state of letting the past go is a lot of hard work. Let's get some clarity on how this is occurring. Can I please get one card to clarify? Clarification coming through. We love, look at all this feminine energy on the table today. This is really, we saw like complete barren wasteland over the last few days of feminine energy. There was a lot more activity happening on the masculine perspective. This is where we get the harmonizing that comes through with these energies. Feminine energy is starting to step back up to the plate to a certain extent. It's almost like feminine energy is finally waking up a little bit from some of that, like, I feel like retrograde, like coming out of that Venus in retrograde, we almost saw some like level of degree of like awakening, like grogginess from the feminine, right? In terms of like coming out of that. But we're seeing here that a lot of this is being put into practical application today. Feminine energy, though, I need to stress, feminine energy, this card has been coming up like hotcakes ever since we started this Venus in retrograde cycle. What is feminine energy doing coming out of this Venus in retrograde? They're focusing on their stability. Feminine energy is acting in a way that is remarkably steadfast. The feminine energy learned this level or degree of steadfastness right now through this retrograde cycle. If you're not seeing a lot of movement, masculine from feminine right now, guarantee you that's because the lack of movement is the movement. It's feminine working on grounding themselves, working on maintaining their stability beyond everything else right now. Now, for partnership energy, this is beautiful because this means that masculine is feeling and recognizing the stabilizing support in the partnership that feminine can provide. How's feminine providing that stability and partnership for masculine at this moment? Well, from a point of emotional balance and from a point of high spiritual intuition, logic, and insight. Now, for the energies that are not in partnership at this moment, this is going to feel like a little bit more of a tricky territory. Why is this a little bit more of a tricky territory right now? Well, because effectively, what are we seeing that feminine is focusing on here? Feminine energy, we saw yesterday, there's a focus right now on coming into divine union. Feminine energy is observing right now relationship patterns and models to see if they have the characteristics that they define and articulate will bring them into a divine union, a union of equality, of the sum of the parts becoming greater than the parts themselves. Feminine energy is effectively still in this same state. They are concentrating on their stability. Feminine energy right now is doing a lot of work to shed the grief, to shed the trauma, to shed the pain of the past. But what's really beautiful about this right now is feminine energy is doing this for the sake of their own stability at this moment. Recognizing that something about some of that past grief and trauma that they've been carrying is now creating a hurdle in them going forward. They could even be recognizing right now and this is either going to come in one of two different forms. This is feminine energy looking at situations from the past that are coming towards them that can only be proceeded upon if they're able to release the pain and the difficulty of the past, putting trust in the energy that something has changed to a capacity that this will not continue. Hence why feminine energy is being so slow in accepting any offers from the past at this moment to recognize if that change is authentic. Or simultaneously, this is feminine energy that is feeling a blockage in moving in towards new offers, new possibilities for them. Feminine energy is recognizing that now feminine energy is looking at new energy approaching them, but not necessarily from the optics of clarity. It's coming through from the optics of past experiences. And while that provides the feminine with a higher degree of insight, it also creates a place of trepidation. It's almost put feminine into a freeze mode because feminine energy was effectively being so triggered about the possibility of past experiences occurring again that feminine couldn't see any path forward into new partnership. Feminine is actually effectively recognizing that this is occurring right now. And so what is feminine energy doing to solve for that problem? feminine energy is recognizing that they need to heal from the trauma of the past. They need to release it, regardless of whether that will allow them to get back into partnership from the past situations or new partnership potential, because in both possibilities, the grief and the trauma is the blockage. Now, for masculine energy that is experiencing and seeing this right now, you could be literally observing the feminine doing this. We would point out that during that Venus in retrograde cycle, masculine energy was getting a bit of a boost. They were getting a little bit of a light bulb moment. The retrograde actually put the masculine energy in better harmony and understanding of the feminine energy's perspective. This was either clarity that came to you right now about the feminine's perspective of past experiences that you may have had with them, giving a better understanding of what occurred from their eyes. Or masculine, you are now taking those lessons from that better understanding and you are implementing them forward. It's either causing you to go backwards right now with that clarity to help provide the feminine what you now realize was the hurdle or the blockage that prevented an ideal union in the past, or you're taking those lessons into new opportunities. The problem that you are seeing and recognizing around the feminine is potentially seeing the fact that the feminine energy is at a place where they are trying to shed their own grief. They're trying to shed their own doubt. They're trying to shed their own trauma. Why? Because it's making them kind of see you from a space where they don't necessarily trust you. They're feeling that trepidation. Now, for some of the masculine energy, if you're going back to past situations and circumstances, you can now observe and understand clearly why the feminine energy is feeling like this. You're also recognizing that what you're trying to offer them is going to have to be a mutual agreement to relinquish any of the hurts and harms from the past so that you guys can find that viable movement going forward. For the other part of the masculine collective, even if you're going into new partnerships right now, this could be you feeling like you have to navigate feminine energy's own trepidation at this time from situations and circumstances that have occurred to them from the past. That is creating this space and place that is creating a blockage for you at this moment. You are potentially even needing to have to try to utilize and articulate in some way to this feminine energy that you are not going to create the same level and degree of trauma. That is proving to be a bit of a hurdle right now because you're also feeling that because feminine energy won't effectively let you in, it leaves you very little room to prove otherwise. Masculine, this is more of that looking right now. There's a point of maintaining that you're trying to move towards a stable feminine energy, and it's requiring a lot of strength because you see the fact that the feminine energy is still very focused on the self. But rest assured, masculines, if you're going through this right now, this is not the feminine energy not paying attention to you. This is feminine energy weighing their own stability against the possibility of the hurt that could potentially be welcomed in should they allow the wrong energy into what the stability that they've created for themselves thus far. Feminine energy is trying to maintain a very effective, high logic approach right now as they weigh their own emotionality to see if they can, how to shed some of this grief. This is a lot of things happening on that metaphysical level. For masculine and feminine energy that is in partnership at this moment, we see here that again, this is a lot of stuff going on under the surface for masculine and feminine, but you guys are both supporting. The counterparts are supporting each other in kind. Masculine may be feeling some doubts or some feelings of anxiety about their own abilities at this time, but being heavily fortified by the feminine energy that is around them at this moment, getting some of that confidence boost that's helping them navigate and release their own doubts and anxieties and fears. And feminine, for your part, you may be coming into this state of stability right now in partnership to lend the support to masculine. Now, continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, between our Six of Swords in its reversal, in combination with our High Priestess energy. We love to see these two cards here because what does this really speak about? Feminine energy is going very much into the spiritual and the logic-based approach, utilizing their intuition to help them shed and release any pain, any difficulty, any burdens that they have experienced or found up until this point. For masculine energy that is working towards a feminine right now, if you're not in partnership, you could even be feeling right now that the feminine energy is somewhat disassociative. This energy can feel a little disassociative to masculine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. but you could be recognizing that feminine is doing this work right now. While for the masculine and feminine energy that is in partnership at this moment, this is a mutual releasing of burdens, coming into a state of easement, but masculine potentially leaning right now on feminine to help build that supportive spiritual context, to help relieve or release any of their own doubts and fears at this time. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Hermit card in its reversal. This is very interesting. Okay, this is very interesting for the feminine energy that is not in partnership right now. I mean, it's interesting energy for all of the energies, but it's particularly interesting for the feminine energy. Why is feminine energy moving now into a state where they're trying to release the grief? Why are you trying to release the grief? Why are you trying to release the fear right now, feminines? Why are you doing all of this work to just try to like unload this baggage, if you will, during this retrograde period? Because feminine energy, if you're not in partnership right now, you've reached a bit of an impasse. Because what's happening, and the reason that this is happening right now, is feminine energy is trying to come out of their shell. Feminine energy is trying to come out of hermit mode right now. Because what feminine energy has identified and recognized is that this space that feminine has found themselves in during this retrograde cycle doesn't necessarily allow for an ability to come back into partnership, maintaining this level of protection around themselves, right? Because what we're really seeing is, again, feminine energy is moving from such a state of caution right now that past energy that's trying to come towards them right now, they are putting off it a bit because they're worried about the fact that the energy isn't coming through authentically. The problem is the feminine energy is also having new offers and opportunities coming through right now. And feminine energy is employing the same tactic because feminine energy is looking at those new energies, feeling triggered and also feeling some anxiety about the authenticity of what is coming through to them right now. But feminine also realizes, and this is what we love, that some of this higher mindset, this higher logic that's coming into feminine right now is recognizing that one cannot maintain this position indefinitely, because it leaves them in a space where they are completely isolating themselves. There needs to be a point of entry. And feminine is even recognizing, what we love about this right now is feminine is really recognizing and identifying potentially that they may be being a little difficult in this capacity right now, that there's something here, that some of this self-solitude that they've come to appreciate and value may also needs to be in small doses, and that there's something here that needs to be kind of eased away because it's requiring a state or place of feminine energy isolating themselves too much. This is all about balance. Feminine energy is now recognizing that the way to balance this out so that they're going to be able to have some process forward to move into partnership again is by releasing this trauma, doing this inner work in whatever capacity is possible right now to shed some of this anxiety and these griefs from the past so that they can open new chapters going forward. Masculine energy right now, this is also creating a bit of a blockage for you at this moment because, again, it's not the fact that you don't have a lot of orientation right now to a feminine energy. You may even be recognizing that feminine energy is very much in a point of building stability. It's almost giving a lot of green lights right now towards energy that you want to move towards right now, because this is either for masculine, a singular feminine energy that is embodying the qualities of stability, emotional balance, and high-minded spirituality. It's like the whole package, okay, in a singular feminine energy. Or simultaneously, masculine energy is potentially trying to move towards new opportunities of feminine energy, some that are very stable, some that are very emotionally balanced, some that maintain this higher spiritual mindset. So there's either a singular feminine that you're trying to move towards right now, masculine, that is like the whole package, or there is multiple feminine energies around you right now that you consider would be very viable partnership opportunities. The problem is, as I said, for the masculine energy, you're finding all of the feminine energy right now in the same vibration. They're all in this same place, and it's feeling like a point of frustration, apparently, practically, because there's something here that feels like you can't get close enough to these energies because they're all holding you at a bit of a distance. And this is creating a moment that could be feeling extremely frustrating for the masculine energy, because it feels like you feel extremely alone right now. You're moving in a space right now where you're feeling a lot of this solitude, but it's not a productive solitude, because it's a kind of solitude where you feel like you can't get a darn thing done. You can't do anything. It feels like you're just spinning your wheels to a certain extent. And for the masculine energy right now that is trying to, like, this is a lot of forward and back right now. This is very retrograde. This is masculine energy that if you're trying to go back to a singular energy that's embodying these qualities or moving in this characteristic, you feel like you're being blocked metaphysically or practically right now. Or simultaneously, for the other part of the masculine energy, if you're trying to move towards new opportunities, you are experiencing the same exact thing from them as well. And so there's a moment right now that could be feeling like a lot of frustration from the masculine that is requiring you to hold the level of degree and consistency, but it's taking a lot of strength in order to do so. You yourself are also trying to move into a space of creating a level and degree of easement for this feminine, trying to convince the feminine energy that you're not going to bring problems into their life. Continuing to get, but it's very hard work at this time, because all of the feminine energy, while it's very active right now, a lot of these feminine energy cards are focusing on the self and maintaining that degree or level of balance that the feminine has found within the self at this time. Now, for the masculine and feminine energy that is already in union, this is kind of a point of, this is a little bit, this is actually the thing that's actually happening right now is feminine energy is doing a lot of supportive work for the masculine right now, because the masculine energy could be feeling some points of frustration today, but feminine energy is also feeling these points of frustration. They're just being able to channel it in a bit of an easier way, right? Masculine energy could even be like looking to the feminine energy for notes right now on how to navigate some of this, because there's something here about the masculine energy. And I will say one of the problems that may be happening in partnership today for energy that is in union is feeling a little bit too close to comfort. There could be a moment right now that could be feeling like the opposite is taking play right now, where feminine and masculine energy feel like they require some level of degree of solitude to be able to do the things that they need to do at this time, but not necessarily feeling like they have the ability to find that in the partnership. That's the big challenge I'm seeing right now for energy that is partnered. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our High Priestess and our Magician in its reversal. These two cards are very intriguing together, and they're going to feel a lot different depending on whether you align to feminine or masculine energy at this time. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. Feminine energy is maintaining this level or degree of higher insight, working really right now to maintain a level of objectivity, even through moments that are challenging them, challenging their own ability to get things done. Retrograde. Can you say retrograde? This is why we like the retrogrades, because even though they're creating some frustration points today, feminine energy is trying to rise above the frustration, really trying to let themselves not get caught on the details, not get caught on the hurdles, but maintain this higher spiritual mindset. For masculine energy right now, this is going to feel like more of a challenge. It's going to be a lot easier to get frustrated on the things that you don't feel are working in your favor today. You could even, if you're in partnership right now, masculine, you could even be looking for notes from the feminine in terms of how they navigate moments of disappointment or frustration right now. Wow, the masculine and feminine energy, that is not in partnership. This is going to feel a bit different, because what we're really seeing right now is this moment that is rising to the surface that is creating a bit of a hurdle and blockage, because feminine energy is staying real deep in their zone right now. They're concentrating on maintaining that level or degree of higher spiritual perspective. They're working through emotional balance. They're working through building their stability at this time, even through those setbacks and hurdles. But it also means that the feminine energy is really looking at outside energies around them with a point of deep trepidation still. Feminine energy could even be considering the fact that they're looking at everyone through these optics as something that they are also trying to work through right now. Because feminine energy is going through a moment where they're recognizing the reason that they're looking at everyone from this perspective of feeling some anxiety or degree of concern as it relates to whether the energy that's coming toward them is coming from a state of positivity and productivity, or if it's moving in a state or space of manipulation, hence some of that past trauma that they're still carrying. It is making the feminine energy still hold people at quite a bit of a distance, though feminine energy is working right now on the internal level to really try to uncrack this, like to crack this nut, to unpack this so that they can move into a state of deeper easement going forward. Masculine energy, you're potentially seeing the fact that the feminine's in this vibration. The problem is recognizing that they're in it isn't providing you a lot of opportunity to help build the confidence that that is not the case. This is either a point of, again, for masculine, of correction, trying to go back to feminine energy, that you can now kind of understand where their perspective is, why they're viewing you in that way. You're trying to do everything you can to help them understand that you understand now, and they're trying to correct it, but they're not giving you a lot of points of entry to do so. The other part of the masculine energy, this is you kind of approaching new feminine energy and finding them in the same exact space, having that level or degree of anxiety, of uncertainty, of holding you back at a distance and being like, and you're almost like feeling like you have to like make up for someone else's sins to a certain extent because you're recognizing that they're carrying a lot of trauma. The interesting thing about this masculine is some of that understanding is helping you also understand how you may have misstepped in the same way in the past and may have caused this in the first place. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now. We like this. Okay, gosh, this is so frustrating. This is so frustrating. I'm just laughing, guys, because honestly, these readings, this is so retrograde. We've been getting the same reading. This is feeling really like a standoff to a certain extent. It's really giving a lot of like standoff energy, but in like a positive, productive fashion. Okay, because what we're really seeing that is happening right now is that feminine energy is continuing to have this like pushing back to a certain extent, being like, I don't know if I can accept this, right? I don't know if I can trust this. I don't know if I can let this in. I don't know if I can let you in. I'm carrying a lot of trauma from the past. Either this is trauma that that person has actually caused for the feminine, or this is feminine being like, you have no idea where you found me. You have no idea like what's occurred. I can't really let these new energies coming towards. Masculine is seeing this and recognizing this, either again from past energies that they're trying to go back to, that they recognize why the feminine's in this perspective, or even the new ones. And what is masculine doing as a result? Masculine is doing the only thing that they feel is the only ability to do so right now, masculine, which is coming forward with the offer, which is holding the offer. This offer has been being held like this for like a week or so now. It's just masculine continuing just to hold steady. This is where the strength exercise is coming for masculine energy right now, because this is requiring you to just hold steady. It's just like, because the steadiness, you're even recognizing to a certain degree that the steadiness is the only thing that might help the feminine energy recognize the authenticity of what you are offering. It's just a consistent giving forth. It's just a consistent, and I have to say, it's not like over stressing. And masculine energy, you're even recognizing this. You're not changing what is offered. You're not changing what is offered. You are trying to come through to a point of being like, this is what I can offer you. What can I offer you? This is them, you really trying to like continue to offer, to come forward with this offer. Because for masculine, what you're really realizing is like, that is what the feminine needs to see. They need to see what the tangible expression is. So masculine, you're still struggling to try to identify and articulate what and how you can present this to the feminine in a way that they won't consider it a manipulation. For feminine right now, this is that moment that, again, you are also recognizing this. What's interesting about it, though, right now is for feminine, you're kind of looking at this right now and you're realizing that you're doing this. Feminine energy that's doing this work right now, you recognize that you kind of created an impasse for yourself, that there's something here that you yourself need to relinquish some trauma, because it's creating a space where, while you want to move forward on some opportunities right now, your anxiety and grief from the past may be feeling like it is the hurdle. You're kind of blocking yourself right now. Okay. Feminine energy is almost recognizing that some of this blockage is coming from their own degree of inability of being able to open up in this way. Feminine energy is doing some work right now to try to release this trauma, to try to release this grief, so that they don't effectively block blessings in terms of something that could be being offered from a legitimate place, but that they're looking at with such trepidation that it is hard to see it without those optics. For masculine and feminine energy right now that is in partnership, this is going to feel like a little bit different. This is going to feel, it's actually going to feel more right now. What we're really seeing is this has a lot more conversation for masculine and feminine energy right now about productive solutions to potentially situations and circumstances where both energies are potentially feeling frustration due to a lack of being able to find solitude in the partnership. There could be even conversations right now for partnered energies about how to build some level or degree of solitude, particularly for masculine energy right now. Because masculine energy in partnership right now, there's something about not being able to find that solitude point that it feels like it is actually the blocker. It's not the feminine right now. It's in a way, it's almost like the feminine is doing too well in terms of creating a space. There's too much feminine around them right now. It's not creating that space or place for them to have that isolated energy that they need. And I feel like this is masculine potentially trying to discuss this right now to a certain degree to the feminine to help them understand it. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Magician in its reversal in combination with our Queen of Cups energy. So this is very funny, though, for the masculine and feminine energy today that's in partnership, because we're actually seeing right now that for masculine and feminine energy that's in partnership, there's kind of this dual work that you're both experiencing about some setbacks and hurdles. This is like heavy retrograde energy. There's some stumbling blocks, and they're feeling like really frustrating stumbling blocks. But they're also this moment, and we like this right now, the stumbling blocks and hurdles, they're making both masculine and feminine question their own ability to get things done. Feminine is handling this with a much more copacetic, fatalistic approach right now. Feminine energy is looking at the hurdles and blockages that they're currently experiencing in partnership as strength tests. They're just moving from this point. Again, I feel like a lot of the feminine energy is just going around being it's the retro. This is actually the identification in a way of feminine energy going around saying it's the retrograde to help them navigate any moments that they're feeling frustration on something that isn't working out the way that they want to right now. Masculine could actually be getting support from feminine energy where they're feeling this frustration, and feminine's tapping them on the back in partnership right now, being baby, it's the retrograde. You know what I mean? This is the type of energy that we're seeing right now. While for the masculine and feminine energy right now that is not in partnership, this is a bigger challenge. This is a whole different kettle of fish, because what we're really seeing right now for the energies that are not in partnership at this moment is that masculine energy is trying to move towards feminine. They can't. They feel blocked. They feel like there's nothing they can do. It's making them question. It's making you question your own ability to do so right now, masculine. It's making you reconsider how you're doing things, period, especially as it relates to feminine energy. Because feminine energy, for their part, you're kind of just seeing a feminine energy that cannot be shaken or cannot be moved to a certain extent. This could be feeling right now that you're unpacking every trick you have in the book. You're pulling out rabbits, you're pulling out party favors, you're doing everything you can to find something that the feminine energy is going to show some interest on. But the feminine energy just seems really focused on their own emotions right now. Right? They're just really focused on their own emotions. And we got the masculine energy being what do I need to do to show you that I am here and this is a solid offer? I've got a rabbit here. I've got everything in the hat to a certain extent. And it's creating this moment that's just building this level and degree of frustration for the masculine, because it's really requiring this point of strength and being what do I need to pull out of this hat to get you to recognize that I am not coming here to hurt you, right? Feminine is just kind of sitting here, and feminine's feminine, to your part, you're and the reason feminine is sitting there not paying attention right now is feminine is trying to weigh their own emotions. Feminine is recognizing that some of this blockage right now is within their own self. They're really trying to look at how to unlock this door that has been shut, firmly closed because of the trauma that they've experienced so far. So masculine, if you're feeling like this, it's not that the feminine energy isn't paying attention to all of the tricks you're trying to pull out of your hat. The feminine energy is really trying to look inwards and saying, how can I move into a space that I can enjoy this? How can I move into a space where I can feel comfortable again participating in this act, which is what is really happening right now, because feminine energy is carrying so much trauma right now that the trauma is making it hard for them to be able to trust the masculine energy. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now. What am I saying? Feminine energy is doing everything they can right now to put their guard down. Feminine energy is doing everything they can right now to actually, this is very intriguing energy right now for the feminine, because this is feminine energy almost recognizing that they're trying to take the lesson that they learned during the retrograde period into moderation. Because the lesson that the feminine energy learned during the retrograde, Venus in retrograde period, was the fact that feminine energy overgives to situations and circumstances that do not give back to them in kind. What did feminine do as a result? Feminine's like, I'm just going to call back all my energy. I'm going to call back all of my energy as much as possible. And now there's a moment where masculine is trying to approach feminine again, and feminine is so locked, boxed in, that is making it hard for the masculine to have at any point of access. Feminine, you may now be recognizing this. You may be recognizing that you're self-isolating to a certain degree right now that doesn't feel productive. And you're even potentially recognizing right now that while this is a very important tool to learn, this is a very important process to understand, it's also one that needs to be used in moderation. Because if not, there's like no point of access, period. So feminine energy is doing a lot of work right now. And this is what's causing for the feminine energy a point of frustration, because feminine energy is like, how do I do this? How do I assess? How do I come into a space that I can leave myself vulnerable and open, but still protect my feelings? And also make sure that I'm not letting the wrong energy in that's going to create further trauma. Feminine energy is trying to learn this. They're feeling a lack of confidence in how to do it, but they're trying. They're really trying today. So masculine, if you're not seeing a lot of motion from feminine, this is effectively why. Masculine energy right now, you're effectively feeling this right now. You're working through this with the feminine. You're seeing the fact that you are recognizing, you could potentially even be understanding and seeing to a certain point that this has very little to do with what you're offering and more to do with the fact that the feminine energy has such guard up at this time that it's very hard to get through to them. You're doing everything you can to try to show that you're consistent, but there's almost a moment right now, masculine, that you kind of are accepting and relinquishing to the fact that you have to kind of let feminine energy, you can't force, right? This is what's so difficult for the masculine energy right now. You can't force the feminine energy to be vulnerable. You realize that. You can give them anything that they want effectively, but you can't give them the ability to be vulnerable. That's only something that they themselves can do. So for the masculine energy, this is why it feels like a bit of a strength training exercise right now, because it feels like you're out of your league to a certain extent. There's something here that you cannot unlock. It can only be unlocked by the feminine. And all you're doing right now is you're doing everything you can to try to show that energy that you are here and ready when they are ready. Now, masculine and feminine energy that is working in union right now, this is more of a moment where the feminine energy is coming into that state of trying to relinquish. Like feminine energy right now is just working right now on releasing a lot of grief, releasing a lot of trauma right now in partnership. Not even potentially things related to the partnership itself. It's creating the space for the feminine energy to do this work. This could be feeling like a very emotionally trying moment right now for energy that is in partnership. But that's because feminine energy is doing a lot of work on the spiritual level right now to come into this state and place. And it's requiring you to unpack a lot of trauma. Masculine energy right now, your biggest difficulty right now in partnership is trying to find some peace and solitude. That's something that may be a conversation that comes up today. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Queen of Pentacles and Hermit in its reversal. So for masculine and feminine energy, what are we seeing right now? This is talking about the unpartnered feminine energy right now. What we're really seeing, this is where we find, this is where you're finding yourself coming through right now out of this retrograde cycle, because feminine energy is struggling with the fact of saying, how do I maintain my sense of stability and security without self-isolating to too high a degree? This is a moment, the reason feminine energy is being spurred into action in this way right now is there's something about this hermit mode that feminine's finally coming out of it. Feminine energy is feeling the frustration of solitude right now. They want to correct for it. They're not feeling in that mood because, again, that hermit energy is good in small doses. Over too much hermit energy doesn't feel productive and helpful. It starts to feel self-isolating. Feminine energy is trying to navigate between these 2 points right now. While masculine, this is also a moment that you have been feeling self-isolated to a certain degree. Kind of had your fill of it. You're kind of done with it. Whatever masculine, whatever peace space you've been in during this period where you've been in isolation, you are done with it. The problem is right now for the masculine energy that is going through this, it's more of the fact that trying to get back in connection with feminine right now is a real hurdle. Because it's not the fact that you don't recognize the energy that you would like to be towards right now in a companionship role. It's the fact that you don't feel like there's an ability to come towards them. It's really creating this space of frustration right now, because for the masculine, this is effectively seeing the energy that you would like to move towards right now, potentially even missing some of this energy, but not feeling like there's an access point to be able to reach it. Clarification for these 2 points right now is 2 cards coming out to clarify. We've got here our Knight of Wands in combination with our Hangman in its reversal. What is this causing? Well, this is causing that moment of activity for masculine. This is literally going to feel like it's reaching a point of stir crazy for the masculine. Like masculine is effectively reaching almost like a boiling point right now and being like, I can't do this anymore. I can't be in this place of solitude. No more solitude. It's no longer feeling like this noble stoic act to be in isolation right now. Now it's just getting under your darn skin. You're feeling that deep need and degree. The isolation is becoming too painful. And it is driving you forward with passion, inspiration, communication right now. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to run, you're trying to escape from the feeling of isolation. The problem is right now, where are you running to? Because we're seeing here that now that you're kind of in this space, you even recognize for a lot of the masculine that this is some self-imposed isolation that you brought on yourself here. You kind of hermited yourself from feminine to a certain degree in some way, shape, or capacity. The problem is now you're effectively trying to come back. You're knocking on the door, and feminine energy is just kind of busy. They're busy working on themselves. They're busy working on their stability. They didn't utilize this time to wait for you or pine for you. They've been working this entire time on building their own level and degree of stability and emotional balance or spiritual insight, potentially all 3. And now you're trying to come back in, either again, going into situations and circumstances from the past, knocking on that door, and recognizing that the feminine energy is very hesitant, cautious, afraid to let you back in. Feminine energy, and then you're trying to knock potentially for the other part of you, you're trying to knock on a door of new feminine energy, recognizing that you feel like that old door is closed. The new energy is not necessarily opening the door. Why? Because they had the same experience. They had the same experience in a different way in the past. And now they are also simultaneously cautious. So masculine, this could be feeling like a lot of this pent up frustration energy right now, because you're feeling a lot of passion, but you might not necessarily feel like there's a place that you can put it. While for the feminine, this is that moment that, again, you yourself are also feeling some of that frustration. I have to point out here, this is not the type of feminine energy that we're seeing that's not in partnership right now, that doesn't want to be in partnership. The fact is that feminine energy is trying to navigate the space that in order to come out of isolation, it's going to require a risk. It's going to require a risk, that there's going to have to be a risk that is taken. And feminine energy is coming out of this Venus in retrograde cycle extremely risk averse. Deep anxiety for taking that risk because of all the trauma that they've carried due to taking that risk in the past. Feminine energy is now at the moment where they're trying to navigate how to come out of isolation, to allow some of that passion to reach them. But again, it's a balancing act right now, because what needs to happen is the feminine's own feeling of isolation needs to override the pain and difficulty of the trauma that not being in isolation could cause them. That's where we're finding the feminine right now. It's a tricky spot for both energies, because it's going to create a lot of dissatisfaction for both. It's not that feminine energy doesn't want what the masculine energy is offering them at this moment. They are cautious as heck about it. And they're weighing right now their own the frustration of isolation versus their own need and desire to meet and receive that same level and degree of passion. For masculine and feminine energy that is in partnership at this time, this is going to feel about more conversations today about having, ironically, the other side of the wheel, trying to find some moments of building some privacy, trying to come into spaces and places where you can cultivate some of this solitude, because we're actually getting here some energy right now that may be feeling a little too close to comfort. There could even be a moment right now where like the masculine feels a little overwhelmed by the feminine right now, and it's causing some level or degree that's making it hard for the masculine energy to do the things that they need to do today. There's some conversations potentially happening in these realms about productive ways to be able to fix this as you go forward from this point. So keep that in mind, feminine energy that is experiencing this right now, because I'm getting here something about the masculine energy saying something along the lines of like, it's nothing personal. You're perfect. It's just, what they need. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Hermit card in its reversal in combination with our Page of Pentacles. So going through right now a moment that is creating a feeling of frustration and isolation for both masculine and feminine energy. For the energies that are not in partnership, this is frustration in isolation that is spurring on new opportunities and offers. For the energy that is in union, this is energy that is feeling the frustration or inability to find solitude, that is offering new possibilities and options. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification. Oh my goodness, this card, like hotcakes, will not leave the table. We've been getting it so consistently. This is more about the stability and degree of the offer that needs to come forth right now from masculine. All right, for masculine and feminine energy right now, depending on whether you are, this is going to feel different, and depending on whether you are in partnership, it's going to feel different. Masculine energy, you are still seeing the fact that you are recognizing that you're finding this feminine here, that the feminine is very trepidatious in terms of letting in new offers and opportunities. But at the same time, you're experiencing this either from past situations or future situations. It's only leading you to one course of action, which is effectively holding in the consistency of what you are offering. This is really trying to drive home the point right now towards feminine energy, that what you are offering them is stable, is real, is not going anywhere, is not coming from a place of manipulation, is exactly what it looks like. And you're almost literally like the masculine energy that is doing this right now is doubling down on it. They're doubling down and being like, all I can do is continue to reaffirm to you that what I am offering is from this point of stability. Feminine, you're kind of witnessing this. And this is that sea change that's starting to happen for the feminine, because feminine energies, you're almost kind of recognizing that there is a level and degree that masculine can't provide anything else beyond this to really affirm. It's almost to a state right now for the feminine. You may be even making demands right now, and masculine energy is just kind of meeting the demands, being like, I need honesty. Okay, here's honesty. I need this. Okay, here's this. I need a boat. Here's a boat. Like whatever you need right now. Again, they're like trying to pull whatever they can out of the hat to be like, what do I need to provide you? Like, do you see my papers? Like, what do you need to see? Like, whatever I need to do to be able to show you that I'm coming from this authentic place. Okay. So what we're really seeing, feminine energy is still holding here, but feminine energy is having some of that sea change today and recognizing that there's a certain level or degree that they just have to be able to take that leap, to allow for some of that risk to come into play. Okay. Thank you for the gift. Well, for the feminine, again, this is that moment of understanding. For and I have to stress here, I got to stress this. And again, just as masculine right now may be seeing this from multiple different feminines that we are seeing here, because again, this is either a masculine moving towards a single manifestation of feminine that like embodies like the full package. This could also be masculine trying to move towards multiple options, new options of feminine right now and experiencing the same result. The same could be happening for feminine right now because this is either a single masculine that consistently continues to be steadfast in their offer, or it could be more than one masculine that's coming towards you in this way right now with the multiplicity of this card, depending on whether this is past energy that is trying to get their point across or potentially new opportunities and offers that are coming towards you right now, feminine. Getting that clarification there between that and, again, this is that doubling down that we're seeing. For masculine energy right now and feminine that's in partnership, this is just masculine, again. Even if there's conversations that are happening right now around the fact or the need of requiring a level of degree of solitude that may be necessary in the partnership, masculine energy is trying to navigate this conversation by trying to really articulate that this is not something that is personal. This is something that is necessary. This is a solution that requires a practical issue, that it is not coming from an emotional level of wanting to be emotionally isolated from the feminine. Continuing to get clarity on these cards right now between our Page of Pentacles in combination with our Queen of Swords energy. So again, what do we see coming into play here? This is the masculine trying to come forward with an offer. This is feminine trying to make themselves vulnerable to it. This is feminine doing the work right now on the emotional level to decide and determine if these are situations and offers that masculine is trying to put forth to them that they are agreeable to, that they can open themselves up to. Even for the partnered energy right now, there's something about some kind of adjustment that masculine may be making to feminine right now, that feminine is trying to determine if they feel comfortable with it. For the masculine and the feminine energy not in partnership right now, this is masculine continuing to hold forth an offer to feminine to see if feminine energy will become more vulnerable. For feminine, you're trying to do that work, but you're trying to also ascertain if this is a safe space to do so. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our devil energy. This is what we're seeing right now. This is that clarification point. Because what we're really seeing right now is the fact that feminine is, again, what is feminine doing? Feminine energy is looking at what is offered from masculine and saying, is this coming from a point of authenticity? Is this coming from a place that's really trying to create stability? Or is it going to create the opposite? Is it coming from a space that it's serving your own needs, unhealthy desires? Is it going to kind of open this box on something that might not necessarily come into a space of healing, but that, just feels like it is something that is unhealed, like unhealed thought patterns, unhealed modalities of thought, unhealed connections. And while there may be a lot of movement and gravity to this, feminine energy is trying to balance and weigh the possibility of this occurring versus what is being offered. There's almost something here, again, feminine energy potentially embracing a little bit of this chaos right now. Because as we said, feminine energy is recognizing the fact that there needs to be a little bit of a risk here. And feminine energy is also weighing the fact of the risk versus what is being offered. Feminine energy recognizes to a certain extent that you cannot mitigate. You cannot mitigate for every risk. And there is a moment that a little risk can be an exciting good thing. But what feminine is really trying to navigate for is making sure that that doesn't go into a surfeit. It doesn't go into a space that it just becomes something that they are moving into that's only going to bring them into something that feels like an unhealthy or unhealed attachment. This is what feminine is effectively weighing right now. And their comfort level in terms of what is being offered versus what they have to weigh in kind. Masculine, you are also recognizing that this is effectively happening right now for feminine. But again, there's something here that you yourself are also trying to navigate and remedy, because you are recognizing here that this is also some risky territory that you're potentially moving into right now. You may even be sitting here having to address the risks, the benefits around how you're trying to move back towards feminine right now, and identifying in that space what feels like it is a safe risk versus what feels like it is too risky. For masculine right now, we are almost seeing here that your own situation here may be feeling like it is driving you into a space that needs to feel like it's a challenged area. It's like a challenging zone here, because you yourself are also starting to feel the frustration of having to maintain and hold this offer right now. But again, we almost see that this is a balancing act that you're working right now with feminine on, really trying to assess how to maintain and keep things in a healthy dynamic, while also recognizing the fact that there is some level of risk that needs to be mitigated and managed and maintained as you go forward. For masculine and feminine energy right now, this could be a lot of the conversation that's happening, finding that balance point, finding what energy you're comfortable with versus what you're not comfortable with, having to assess why the feminine energy feels like this, is having to look at situations and circumstances where feminine may have found themselves in the positions that they were not comfortable with. So a lot of potential conversation that is actually opening up today about where the triggers lie, about what's occurred to potentially try to prevent them from happening. For masculine and feminine energy right now, this is again potentially counterbalancing what is being productively offered right now in terms of the risk reward. Now, continuing to get clarity on these points right now, between Hangman in its reversal, Knight of Wands, Knight of Pentacles. So, while we have a lot of activity from feminine today, we actually have a lot of activity for masculine. A lot of activity, even though we're in a retrograde cycle right now. Because what we're really seeing is there's a point right now that holding in a space of non-activity has reached too much of a pain point to bear. Feminine energy realizes that they cannot maintain this space of closing everybody out indefinitely. Masculine realizes there's a fact that they can only offer what they're offering and wait to a certain extent as well. This is spurring on communication and offers for both masculine and feminine energy. For masculine energy right now, this is potentially even doubling down on an offer and opportunity, but also really trying to communicate around them as well. For some of the masculine energy, this is a singular presence of feminine that you're continually trying to move back towards right now. For other parts of masculine energy right now, these are new opportunities that you're trying to move back towards right now, but you're experiencing a lot of those same blockages. For feminine, this is feminine trying to come into an easement so that you can receive some of these offers that are coming towards you right now. Again, either from a masculine energy from the past that is showing a level and degree of commitment that you cannot necessarily just easily shuck off, or from new opportunities that are coming towards you right now, but you're recognizing your trauma from the past is blocking you from accepting and understanding them. May I please have one card to clarify? For masculine and feminine energy right now that's in partnership, this is building on a lot of that stability to allow for new avenues of possibility is what we're really seeing here, especially around circumstances and situations of easement in the area of finding points of solitude. Clarification coming through right now with our Five of Pentacles in its reversal. And we love to see this because this is the healing of an abandonment wound. The thing that masculine energy could be really trying to communicate and articulate to feminine through the consistency of this holding pattern is, I will not abandon you. I will not abandon you. Masculine energy may even have to address right now some circumstances and situations with feminine wherein some of the trauma that they're carrying has to do with some feelings of abandonment at this moment. These are either past situations where feminine feels like the masculine effectively abandoned them, potentially to go into hermit mode. Masculine energy is now recognizing that the blockage that they're experiencing from feminine is the fact that feminine does not want to let them back in, because feminine is effectively saying, for past energy, what if you do that again? What if you do that again? How can I be sure that you are not going to go into hermit mode and abandon me again? Masculine energy is being consistent right now in communication and effective passion and saying that will not happen again. For the masculine energy that is going back to past situations and circumstances, this is effectively what you're trying to articulate. This is what you're recognizing may be the conversation that will help unlock the door in terms of trying to come into easement at this point. For the masculine and feminine energy, for the feminine energy right now, this is a point of challenge because you know and recognize that you cannot guarantee that that is the case. You may even be experiencing, even from new energy, you could be having to unpack this with energy to help them understand and articulate where they're finding you and why you are being so hesitant and resistant. And the masculine energy, either, and again, this is a challenging point, past energy, going back to past circumstances and situations right now, or even masculine energy that is trying to come forward into new partnerships, is having to do everything they can right now to truly show the feminine energy their own capacity and degree of maintaining their point of holding so that feminine does not feel like that is something that will happen. Feminine energy is addressing their own abandonment wound right now because feminine energy is also addressing the fact that they're carrying some trauma around that abandonment wound being triggered. Masculine energy is also feeling some of that abandonment wound, but the abandonment wound that you're trying to heal right now is not necessarily running away from something that is proving a point of difficulty. There's an abandonment wound that's healing right now for both masculine and feminine, but it is a very hard abandonment wound to heal. Feminine energy, the healing of the abandonment wound is requiring a risk to be taken. Masculine energy, the way the abandonment wound has to be healed is you have to kind of hold firm in a space or place where you're not sure victory is assured. For masculine and feminine energy in partnership right now, this is jewel work right now in healing this abandonment wound and having a lot of open conversations about it. Continuing to get clarity on these cards right now. Between hold on a minute, I lost my spot. Between this combination right now of, hold on, where were these? Yeah. Our Devil card in combination with, which ones was it? Which ones were it? This was it. Sorry, I've got it now. In combination with our Knight of Pentacles. The Knight of Pentacles with our Devil card, which is really indicating right now a moment that it is feeling very triggering. There's a moment right now that triggers are being hit. They might not even be being hit in a bad way. There's something here about this that could be feeling like this is actually giving a little bit of energy here where it's like some devil energy, but it's almost like not coming through in a devil energy that like feels like super toxic right now. It feels more like the balancing and weighing of risk versus reward is what we're really seeing here. Recognizing again that there's something about the offers that are coming towards you right now that it is requiring you to really assess and balance the risk versus the reward. For both masculine and feminine energy. For feminine, this is receiving some of the offers from masculine at this point. For masculine, this is effectively also assessing the risk and reward versus you maintaining and holding what you're trying to offer at this point. Because holding it and maintaining it in a way is feeling very triggering for you at this time. Two cards coming out to clarify. The Fool card in combination with our Seven of Pentacles. Again, this is a different direction that the energies are taking. And again, it feels like a bit of a sea change, but we see that there is a commitment that's coming through here. And what we appreciate, much like we saw yesterday, is the commitment, is to the navigation of time, putting the time and effort, energy necessary into something to see how it will grow. This in itself, this amount of committed effort feels like a degree of change for both masculine and feminine energy. It's not moving into something quickly. It's letting something grow in a very, very slow fashion. But for both energies, it is triggering a healing of the abandonment wound. For feminine, that slow growth is giving the feminine assurance that this isn't something that's going to go away. Because why would someone commit so much time, effort, and energy to coming to know someone or building a relationship with someone if they were going to go away again? For masculine, this is a commitment of moving into something that you are putting this much care and attention in, that is also healing an abandonment wound, because it's making you be in a space where you're uncertain the outcome, but yet you're still continuing to invest that time, effort, and energy. My final card for today's spread between these three cards is, oh, thank goodness. We've got here our Seven of Cups in its reversal. And we love to see this card at play, because what this is really indicating is a commitment of time, effort, and energy into something that validates that someone has found what they are looking for. That really the reason that there is this time, effort, and energy, and the reason that this abandonment wound is being healed, is because being able to do this is affirming to both energies that they found what they are looking for, because it is that invested energy into allowing something to grow in this slow capacity right now that is really both, again, for the masculine, it is reaffirming to the feminine your own commitment that this is what you want. And for feminine, this is reaffirming to you that this is masculine energy that is safe to open up to, because they are showing you through consistency and time that they're not going anywhere. For masculine and feminine energy, this is a lot of reaffirming in the union itself, through a lot of the stable conversations that you have right now that may feel like they're coming from a triggering place, but you're doing it in a very productive fashion. Bottom of the deck on today's reading today is, oh my goodness gracious, so much 10 energy, 10 of Cups in its upright. This is about the unknown. There's conversations right now on the future. There's ideal discussions about aspirational futures, but there's also a moment that there is a recognition that effectively we cannot necessarily completely perfectly know what the future has in store. And this could be feeling like a bit of a challenging area or an anxiety point at this time, that feeling of uncertainty. But there's also kind of a reaffirmation that's happening right now in this reading that says we can't necessarily plan, completely anticipate what's going to happen in the future, but we can do everything we damn well can in the present to try to make that future a reality, and thereby taking that future scenario and bringing it down to earth here. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and receiving it with me. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can do so on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video with an option of recording sent to you afterwards. And if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber ID at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a reading on my website, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading and you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you would like to have that reading. Most importantly, please, 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 please remember that I will never, ever, ever, ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never inbox you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your DMs and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way that you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website, So I encourage you to do it there. I want to thank you guys so much for being here with me today and sharing with me in this reading. And we will do this again tomorrow. Guys, that was the Daily Collective Read. I like it. We finally got some feminine energy coming onto the table.